want to take this next few minutes and give you a rare opportunity to gain insight from a very close friend of mine, Mr. Lyle Bunn, who's sitting to my left, was traveling through this area and graciously decided to drop in. And Lyle and I've had the privilege of teaching together and speaking together for many years, and blessed by his wisdom and his insight. He owns Lyle Bunn Consulting out of Toronto, and he provides international consultation. Actually awarded an honorary doctorate degree, the only person that I know of that's been privileged with that. And he provides great insight at a level that it's just not possible for an integrator to have. And Lyle has agreed to spend 5 to 10 minutes, maybe a few minutes more, whatever's needed, to provide insight into what he sees over the next year, 2 years of the marketplace relative to digital signage, to provide how he sees the marketplace. He's also going to reflect on where you can pull this valuable resource down from his website. But Lyle, I really appreciate you taking your time today and providing my customer database the opportunity of hearing from your insights. So if you would just reflect, you wrote a paper just last month that was talking about what you see coming in 2013, and it's really based on what you've been writing about the last 10 years. So kind of just reflect to us and reflect to the people watching this video where we're coming from.
My pleasure. And by the way, best for you of all that you have done in 2012. And your 2013 is probably a very positive outlook as well for digital signage. What I wanted to do in that paper was describe in a snapshot where we have been with dynamic signage as we conclude 2012 and launch into 2013. And to take the eagle's view of this is to get a pretty clear view on where this technology and, more importantly, the use of it has been, and where the clear indicators of its direction are. So that's what I intended to do with this short year-end summary. And as we were discussing earlier, that cusp, if I could call it that inflection point that is the conclusion of 2012 and the launch into 2013, really has some characteristics. And you and I have spoken about this at length. But one is the maturing of the technology. The maturing of the technology that will enable that new user or that small user that wants 1 or 2 panels to be installed for patron or staff communication to go out and very easily source those and access those. Equally, where your strength lies in particular is exploiting that base of technology for best business advantage. And that really is what 2013 points to. So as we were discussing briefly earlier, the key point of 2013 for the use of dynamic signage is in the operative words, the use. Many companies have experimented. They've found extraordinary benefits occurring as a result of their use of the medium. They've learned how to integrate it into their other communication processes, integrate it into their environment, drawing upon your talents and those of others as well. But they've learned how to use it. And so now the task for many of those existing users is to really take it to the next level. So where they may have had this in 5 to 10 to 20 to 100 locations, now is the time when they want to move it much more broadly into their patron, shopper, staff, partner communication.
So it's really no longer about, the last 10 years, we've really gone through a time period where good intentions, good promises, but but there were a lot of frustrations in the deployments because, in fact, a lot of organizations had statistically a greater chance of failing their first or second time because the software still was not mature. The hardware was not quite up to the task. There was a lot. You're telling me that the maturing of both the hardware and the software components of digital signage have got us to the point to where now we can, those are still important and they've still got to be done right. But now it's more about, okay, what are we going to do with this content? Let's take it to the next level. Let's make this, both the ROI and the ROO happen for our investment.
But more than that, Mike, if you and I were sitting here having this conversation 4 years ago, we'd have been focused on the technology, and we'd be thinking about what technology we should be speccing in and
how fast the PC's got to be, the graphic card.
Absolutely.
That's no longer
whole different shift in how this is approached. And so now the starting point is around the business goal, the communication objective, and organizations are realizing that because this is a new medium, a new device for communication, that they should draw on some good talent to even define the benefits that they could expect and should expect out of the use of this. So you're probably having many more discussions about return on investment, return on objectives as the starting point to the project. Then you're helping firms identify the content that would need to be used to get those business benefits.
Yeah, we in fact, things like integrating it with emergency notification systems never even was on the radar map. But now, sadly, because of the many world tragedies of things like the shootings and stuff like that are just break your heart. Digital signage it's no longer about just sending out company messages, which are valuable and everything else, and employer recognition and all that. But it's the idea that you can use the system and you can take content that's already created and not have to recreate that content. You can integrate it into the digital signage system and just raise the level of importance to the people that are viewing these screens. And with digital signage, obviously you can keep it relative, timely, important. It's all of those things are there, and they just simply, it wasn't possible 4, 5, 6 years ago.
True. So on the docket now, on the agenda now, are those large organizations who have deployed digital signage. They've done it generally internally without the support of their agencies, for example. So in healthcare, in retail, in food services, in the campus environment, these organizations are saying, this works. Giddy up! Time to really take this out and get the business value from it. And so that in that stage of moving to the next level of business value and the next level of economies of scale is our digital signage, dynamic place-based media world of 2013. Along with this, as we've talked, where this medium is really powerful in presenting key performance indicators, impacting workplace safety, improving the visit experience. We also see that this medium is really ready for use in staff communications as well. Many organizations since 2008 have been cutting, and many realize they're now cutting into the meat of productivity, and they're needing to keep those best people on board and activate and motivate and continue to challenge the best people that they have on staff. So staff communication is becoming very important in the use of this medium as well because of its dynamic nature. One head of human resources said to me, Lyle, if I can just get people revved up an hour earlier on Monday morning, if I can get them talking about our business rather than their weekend an hour earlier on Monday and keep them focused for an hour longer on Friday and have them thinking about clearing their desk mid-afternoon Wednesday, keep them focused on hump day, then I'm going to increase the productivity double digits in my enterprise, and I'm going to use dynamic signage to do that for staff communication. These use cases we've seen developed. They're fairly well documented. There's a lot of experience and capability in your firm, for example, as you're able to bring these insights to new users about how other organizations are benefiting from the medium. And so yours is a key role in the supply chain, not just for designing and speccing, deploying the technology, but playing a role in that front end to better define what benefits can come out of this, help them to think through the content that's going to achieve those benefits, leading to the technology infrastructure that can present the right content that can achieve those results on a sustainable basis. Which leads us to another point, and it's this. 2012, we still saw lots of organizations trying to figure out if they had the right technology infrastructure. And we've lived in the industry through the torture of seeing end users deploy some technology, realize it wasn't really going to take them where they wanted to go, and have to redeploy and reinvest. And that's a gut-wrenching experience.
And it didn't happen to just one. It happened to many major name brand players, and implementations in the second and third generation every time having to retool.
Right on.
Torture. Very painful.
We now see a lot less of that. We now see end users with the realization and the confidence that the medium works, and there might as well be the investment to future-proof now, where that future-proofing might only be looking out 3 to 6 to 12 months, let alone 2 or 3 years. So in food services, which is working now hard to comply with the Health Act requirements in the presentation of caloric and nutritional information, we see food service chains looking out to future-proofing to 3, 4, 5 years when they know that end user, that patron experience is probably going to be media enabled with gaming and tablets and social media happening in that restaurant environment. And so the future view reflects the confidence in the current performance and the value that's being achieved.
So do you see, from the delivery perspective, you see digital signage going well past that traditional 42-inch flat panel on the screen? You see it being implemented across, just give me your vision. Where do you see dynamic digital signage? And we do need to clarify the term that dynamic digital signage is the focus of delivering the right content to the right place at the right time. But where do you see it, going past that classic walk by 42-inch panel in the hallway?
Yeah, this is really moving into the domain of enterprise media.
Yeah.
And this is how enterprises are thinking about dynamic signage. It's an enterprise media platform that enables the presentation of messages on a flat panel, that enables presentation of messages on different media devices, such as projection, video walls, holographic 3D aerial imaging projection, projection onto a screen device, such as the 3M Vacuity product. But beyond this, in banking, retail, food services, healthcare, we see the delivery of media to tablets, where line busting, for example, in order counter situations, have an associate with the tablet approaching the patron who's waiting in line and helping them to execute their transaction so that they don't drop their basket or leave the premises as an unhappy customer. We'll definitely see more enterprise media in projection as well, given, as you've reflected on, the attractiveness in terms of price performance of projection equipment to really add ambience and energy and add new vitality to an environment through media that presents messages for branding or action or influence.
Yeah, people, it's going to be required that organizations look at new dynamic ways, because candidly, sometimes just use of a flat panel in a traditional landscape orientation is noise.
Yes.
In the environment. So we're going to have to look at how the content really brings those surfaces alive, and how we can use all these other technologies to embrace or engage people, because especially today's generation, they're not used to waiting on stuff. They're dynamically engaged in their iPhone, their Droid, their pads, it's whatever, even to the desktop. And you mentioned a few minutes ago, delivering corporate communications. So many of our enterprise level enabled dynamic digital signage packages also are now empowering the streaming for town meetings and things like that. It's no longer just recorded media, but it's also because our multicast enabled networks and gigabyte backbones, and I know those are geek things, but the reality is, a few years ago, it was the network was one of the biggest bottlenecks associated with what content we could deliver. Yeah. But now those challenges have been minimized, been reduced. People are working with a lot of bandwidth, and so now we can start delivering content even to the desktops and things of that nature. So it's not just catch them out in the hallway as they're walking to lunch, or catch them while they're eating, which are all great places to engage them, or in the line at the bank, or on the floor in the factory, or in the waiting room at the hospital, or wherever. But it's now all the way down to their personal, bring your own device.
Right.
It's a part of your unified communications movement.
Good point. And visual is our new language. You remember when we first presented that at, I think, Infocom, about 2005.
Gosh, it was many years ago.
And visual and phones are our new language, I guess. I'm going to turn this off. And as we mentioned that to the group that was gathered at Infocom, I saw people grabbing for their pen and writing this down. Well, let's recall, that was 2005. We've matured 7 years. Yeah. That's 100 human years in terms of media.
Oh, yeah.
And so the realization that media, where we want it, how we want it to best serve the results is where we are. It was I think 2006 when the Mayo Clinic presented how effective they were being in staff communication.
I was there.
By putting a unique intranet URL up there for new hygiene protocols in that Mayo Clinic. And so here they were doing analytics that attested to the value of increasing staff communication on their intranet using their digital signage. That same kind of analytic and capabilities now being applied when somebody's mobile device, when their cell phone, when their smartphone is detected off of the dynamic signage platform, and they can quickly opt in to message or receive that message. Yesterday in Akron, the sheriff had called the company that I was visiting and advised them to close their office because the snowstorm was coming through. And so most people got their messages not from email, not around the coffee pod and the water cooler, but they got their messages from their own smartphone.
Personal device.
Yeah. This is the exciting world of technology-enabled media and better integration of media devices in 2013.
So looking forward at 2013 and 2014, in closing, what kind of hierarching advice would you provide the people that have listened to this video on what are the strategic things that they need to consider when that not only I'm suggesting to them that the question is past whether they need to consider dynamic digital signage. I'm just suggesting to you that the benefits, the ROO and the ROI, simply make that a null question. I'm asking you to reflect on what are, from your standpoint, what are the things that they really need to be focused on to successfully guide them down the path to this event. Don't rush the decisions, but there is no use for a digital signage process to take 2 years now.
Correct.
Which was not that uncommon 5 years ago. You'd start talking to them a year and a half, 2 years later, and they'd finally pull the trigger on pilot. There's no, and that's it. It was warranted based on the uncertainties, so many
complexities.
But kind of, what's your vision of what would you tell our viewers here about what are the key things they need to focus on?
What we now know to be the critical success factors, and updating this based on the way that the supply and usage capabilities have developed. But the critical success factors are these: focus on business benefit. Don't focus on the technology. Focus on the business value that's going to be achieved off this. Those projects are now going out with a 2 to 8 month return on investment. So very high return on investment and return on objectives. So focus on the benefit. Secondly, keep the content relevant. Keep it fresh, keep it relevant. If there is not the ability to commit and invest in quality, relevant content that will engage those patrons, staff, student, shoppers, it's not worth it to go ahead with the project.
Shouldn't do it.
If you can't afford the gas, don't buy the car, right? Third critical success factor is plan for the future. In this way, it's almost like you have to start how you plan to finish. It's folly to approach something with a low level of capability, and then to expect more capability of that technology infrastructure and those business processes and that content as things grow. You have to start how you're going to finish when it comes to the infrastructure that enables this. The fourth point I would make, the critical success factor, is harness it. Because once one of those displays get put in place, there's a great deal of excitement that gathers around it. And so strong project management, strong communication management that embraces other parts of the organization so that they too could enjoy business benefit is very, very important to be able to maximize the value going forward. The fifth point and last I would make is that this continues to be a new area of activity for many companies. Retailers may be terrific at buying and merchandising and building traffic and converting shoppers. They're probably not very good at dynamic signage in the retail environment. So draw in capability. Use the expertise that's available, because ultimately it's the best bargain to mitigate the risk and to assure that mistakes are minimized and investment is minimized going forward. So I would urge those watching this to draw upon multimedia solutions.
Well, thank you very much, Lyle. But in closing, I need you to also reflect on where they can pull from your valuable ongoing contributions that you make available to anyone and everyone through your website. So if you would just reflect on where that resource is.
Oh, you're kind. These are free papers related to case studies and ways of determining the business value that could be achieved, a much broader outlook for 2013. So these are available for free, no registration required, at my website at www.lylebunn, LYLEBUNN.com. And it won't surprise any of you that many of these papers reference Mike White and the work of Multimedia Solutions.
Well, this has been most gracious investment of your time. I really thank you for your friendship, but on the big picture, your contributions and investment in the industry itself. The industry itself has and continues to benefit from your wisdom and your insight. And I encourage all of you all, as you have listened to this, visit his website. And if you're needing a man of wisdom that can provide great insight relative to how your vision of digital signage or dynamic digital signage is developed, I would encourage you to reach out to Lyle. He is a man that will provide an integrity-based review of what he hears, sees, and knows about your industry, and can provide you great guidance and insight. Thank you very much. And again, I want to wish you a great holiday season. We're so thankful. Let us remember those people that even today are in harm's way, that are standing there protecting our freedoms, and we want to be mindful of those. Reach out to us if we can be of help to you here at Multimedia Solutions, and we want to thank you for the opportunities that you've provided us in 2012, and we look forward to serving you as we enter into 2013, this very exciting time. Thank you very much.
A very successful 2013
Appreciate
to you, Mike.
Thank you.